What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about NBA draft sleepers in this year's draft. When talking about this, there are many different opinions, so don't get mad if you think a certain player isn't too good, or I didn't mention a certain player who you think is a sleeper. And I do have a part 1 to this, so check it out if I didn't mention anyone. The point of this video is to look at some lesser known prospects later in the draft that could be good players, and just start a conversation. A lot of these guys' draft stock is already rising, so just start a conversation about them, see who they are as a player. With all that being said, I just want to talk about 4 guys who are sleepers in the 2021 NBA draft, and Josh Primo, Trey Murphy, Greg Brown, David Johnson. So let's get right into it. The first guy on my list is Josh Primo out of Bama. While his stats may not be eye-popping one bit, he has the tools to be a good player. He recently put his name in the draft, and Josh Primo has raised his stock a lot over the past 2 weeks at the draft combine, showing that he was not just a shooter. Talking about his performance at the combine, he played the season at the Bama, showed flashes of greatness and flashes of not so much greatness. He's a pretty inconsistent shooter throughout the season, so his great shooting at the combine could just be a fluke, and it is to many people. But even with his inconsistent shooting right now, I bet he could shore up that working on an NBA team, an NBA franchise, and be more consistent, especially since he was one of the youngest players in the draft. Primo can finish through contact, has a big frame, standing 6'5", and he's an okay defender that can guard more than just the guard spot. Overall, he's a streaky three-point shooter that needs to polish his game up, especially his shooting, but he has shown flashes of being a great scorer and possibly guards 1 through 4 if he has more strength. He's on this list because his draft combine performance shows how good he can play against other draft prospects, and showed me why he should be in consideration for early second round pick. At this second spot, I was debating between 2 guys, and Kessler Edwards and Trey Murphy, but decided to go Trey Murphy because Edwards and Murphy both took a step down last season. But Murphy has also improved his efficiency from all over. Murphy is also in a bigger school that plays in the ACC. Trey Murphy averaged a respectable amount in the ACC against pretty good competition, whose shooting is almost guaranteed to translate to the next level, which makes him a very valuable prospect. And he was so consistent with his shooting this season, even from the free throw line, and this makes him a low floor prospect, and this is valuable to many contenders trying to make a playoff push right now with this type of guy, plug and play. He's 6'9", has room for improvement, and has room to put on a lot of weight. In terms of upside, Trey is seen as a play now guy, can shoot, basically the 3 and D type guy. 3 and D potential, that's what most people put him as. And I think a reliable 3-point shooter is very, very valuable in today's NBA. And we have guys like Seth Curry, Crowder, being so good for their teams in the playoffs on offense and defense. As far as offense goes, he has pretty good upside. His shooting, he can just work around his shooting ability, which makes him a good prospect, and his age and other factors make him have not that so high ceiling. Speaking of limiting factors, Trey Murphy has a few things that you need to know about him. He isn't much of a young prospect. He's 21 right now, soon turning 22. So he's not super old. He's not like Obi Toppin was last year, but he's still pretty old. And though he is a great shooter, he doesn't have eye-popping athleticism. Although he is okay at defense, actually pretty good at defense. Overall, Trey Murphy is a surefire late first-round prospect that will contribute to a good team right away. However, he will eventually need to prove he can improve his game to be more than just a role player for a good team. and he has a good base to start with his size, shooting, and length, along with his defense. Greg Brown. A lot of you know him because he was benched at the end of the year in favor of Kai Jones, sophomore, who's probably going to the lottery in this year. But Greg Brown is a high upside guy. He has athleticism, he has defensive upside, but he has a pretty high floor too because of his lack of development on offense. Speaking of offense, he averaged 9.3 points per game this season at Texas. But like I said, near the end of the year, he only got like 6 minutes a game because he was benched in favor of Kai Jones. You might wonder, why does this guy think Greg Brown has high upside if he's being benched in favor of someone who's going to the lottery? Well, I say because of his athleticism and pure defensive IQ. As far as athleticism go, this makes him so he has high upside. He at least can be a rim runner, and a lot of teams these days take chances on players like Greg Brown who they think they can develop. In recent weeks, his draft stock has fell off, but this might help him out not having too much pressure when going to the NBA. And I just want to bring up his name again because I haven't seen his name floating around in the past 2 weeks. As far as upside goes, he's a freak athlete. No doubt about that. His athleticism will translate to the NBA. Along with his good speed, he has good speed. And he got the quickest time in the combine for the shuttle run. So that's good. And he showed good ability to change direction, placing well in the lane agility time. Greg Brown is 6'9", 205, but he has room to put on to get up to like 230-ish, maybe even 240 if a team develops him right. Maybe a little steroids. I don't know what they use in the NBA. But he has a good defensive game and can guard the perimeter, which I think is very, very important when looking at prospect. Because a team goes small ball. You have Greg Brown guard the perimeter, or even try him small ball center. His upside is very high because of his skill sets and his potential to be a great player. As far as downside goes, though, Greg Brown has a lot of polishing to his game to do, mainly his shot. Greg Brown needs to refine his shot mechanics, and this should lead him to better percentages from three. Another glaring weakness is his all-around offensive game. Yes, he does have high potential to develop this, but he needs to get moves to do in the post. Like, you know how Giannis has his Euro step and his spin around thing? Well, Greg Brown doesn't have any of these moves. He needs to develop something where he has that move he can go to. And when I say he needs to work on his offensive game, I mean he can't really create his own shot either. And like I said, he needs to create more driving opportunities for himself. Not to be a total bust, of course. Overall, Greg Brown was one of my favorite players. He is a boom or bust guy, and wherever he lands will determine his career, in my opinion. David Johnson out of Louisville isn't the most well-known prospect, but he has good upside. At the NBA Combine, he averaged good numbers across the board, showing he was a good but not great athlete. He averaged around 12 points on okay efficiency, not amazing, not eye-popping, but it was his second season at Louisville, and his expectations were big, and if we're being honest, he probably didn't live up to those expectations. And you're probably hearing all this, thinking, what makes this guy any better than the guy in front of him? And this is my answer. First, to speak about his upside. He didn't shoot great this season, but showed major improvement from bad to average on his three-pointers. He didn't just catch and shoot. Most of his shots on three-point were create his own shot, which is a good sign. You want a guy who can create his own shot. It makes your life a lot more simple, and it makes promising catch and shoot progress. His good passing makes him a good fit with most teams, and he's pretty good inside scorer right now. Some people may question his leap in his second year, but he got more minutes and he was recovering from a shoulder injury and moderate time coming off the bench his freshman year at Louisville. As far as downside goes, his shooting is a major problem, and not just from three-point range. He did not shoot efficiently from anywhere, which makes him a high-risk prospect. Not as high risk as someone like Greg Brown, but he is high risk. Overall, David Johnson didn't live up to his high expectations this season, but I think he has a role in the NBA, and I think he can build around his shot and work on his shot, and maybe even work on his defense aspect of the game. If you want more info on these guys, you can look them up, watch their highlights, or watch tape on them, see their style of play, see if you like them. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.